Hi everyone, in the following video we'll take a deep look at some advanced artificial agent behavior that were showcased along our 2020 L2RPN NeurIPS competition by the best agents. This will help us understand better AI capabilities to solve such a real-world problem of real-time power grid operations. We'll focus especially on the robustness competition in which an attacker could unexpectedly disconnect power lines in an adversarial fashion. In our behavior analysis, we want to study scenarios in which agents perform better than others to find interesting differences in behavior, understand why, discover complex action sequences in tough situations, highlighting advanced behavior, and yet understanding why such an agent might still fail. We'll see that the best agent actually demonstrates some superhuman behavior at some point, which is really impressive. To study the behavior of agents over scenarios, we use this great and very comprehensive Grid2V study tool we've developed. Launching Grid2Vs, you're first invited to select the scenario you want to study, and over scenarios over different months of the year, for instance, like during winter or summer. And to select the scenario in which to compare agents, which with probably interesting different behavior, we can take a look at this survival time heat map. For each scenario and each available agent, you can see here the percentage of times the agent survived. Here we have baselines naive agents, like a do-nothing agent. And we have the top 5 agents represented from the competition. We see that for some scenarios, all top agents are doing great, managing the whole scenario. For some scenarios, only the best agent succeeds. For some other scenarios, they all struggle the same way. And for some other interesting scenarios, they all struggle, but the best agent is yet surviving more time, like over the December scenario number 1. We'll hence investigate this interesting one in the following. As a reminder, on some context about this robustness competition, here are the 10 lines the attacker could attack during the scenario. The 2 lines on the right are especially tough because those are very high voltage lines capable of transporting greater force. Another reminder is a humongous action space dimension, which makes exploration and discovery of useful topological configuration very difficult. Here, for instance, there are more than 65,000 possible configurations at substation 16 only. Over 100,000 possible unitary reactions over all substation are indeed possible, and the combinatorial space of configurations is almost infinite in the end. So let's pick up our December scenario number 1 and compare the 2 best agents through it. When we open the scenario, we can see how the cost of operation changes over time for both agents. At first, it's very similar for both, and later some differences appear as they're doing different actions. You can see times of action with the yellow markers, and we can also see periods of attacks in purple, and times of overflow with vertical dashed red lines. And we see that it gets very tense after 3 days, and a new probably strong attack happens there. Luxigene agent immediately runs into a blackout, hence a game over. RL agent survives for a few more hours on this attack, while its cost of operation rises significantly. It eventually fails over a new attack, as we will see. Here we get a high-level view also on how far each agent is running away from the initial configuration through its actions. The further away, the more complex the behavior can be, but possibly also the more dangerous. We see that Luxigene fails at a distance 4 from the initial configuration. A relay agent moves away to a distance up to 8, which lets him survive the strong attack, but later runs him into a game over. To complete our high-level understanding of agent behaviors, we here look at the agent action distribution over the grid during the scenario. The balls play on many substations all over the grid, which displays some diversity in their behavior. While some actions are similar between both, they don't necessarily play on the same substations and not at the same frequency. A real agent performs a lot of actions, up to 55 during this scenario. Given that you have to carefully decide when to take an action, for instance a random agent fails in just a few time steps, it looked quite a performance. Also, a real agent demonstrates widely coordinated actions, as we had some first insight previously and we'll see in greater details right after. We also see here a summary in order of the 4 lines that are getting attacked and the overloads that appear over the 17 lines in red. And now let's dive into this very tense but interesting period that only a real agent managed. So it starts at 5:50 a.m. by a strong attack on the very high voltage line on the right, and 3 nearby lines get overloaded. The flows there need to supply consumption on the top right. Other lines supplying this area are also already loaded, and the agent will have to find the right balance when redispatching those. So it starts by action on substation 23 and 26, which relieves the previous overflows on the right, but create new overflows on another corridor supplying consumptions on the top right. With an additional action at substation 16, all overflows are solved for now, thanks to this 3-step coordinated action sequence. 45 minutes later, at 6:50 a.m., a new overflow appears because the consumption is increasing on the top right. The first new configuration at substation 23 solves it, but recreates the initial overflows on the right. Pre-substation solves those overflows, but again creates some new ones in the other corridor. Finally, a last action at substation 16 solves it at 7:25 a.m. The sequence of 5 actions was temporarily needed. This is really impressive and demonstrates some superhuman behavior, because operators usually only deal with up to 3 coordinated actions at the same time to try solving an issue. This was quite a remarkable move from the agents. So the previous configuration is robust for the remaining of the attack, while the concessions still keeps increasing. Finally, the agent recovers the attacked line at 10 a.m., 4 hours later it started. So we think he has done a great job there and will manage the remaining of the scenario. But a new attack occurs 30 minutes later, while the agents remain in this very different configuration from the initial one. You might know better. So the line attacked is less critical than the previous high voltage line. But this time, a real agent quickly fails despite the last action, most probably because it stays in a rather unknown configuration for him, from which he could not escape fast enough. So this is the end and the game over for our best agent. While demonstrating some impressive capabilities, it is yet not perfect.